Hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Canada Immigration. We hope you're doing great. In this video, we're going to talk about here's how immigration rules are changing in 2025. As we move into 2025, significant changes to immigration rules are on the horizon, impacting everything from visa processing to eligibility criteria. These updates aim to address shifting global dynamics, improve efficiency, and adapt to the evolving needs of both immigrants and host countries. Whether you're planning to move, study, or work abroad, it's crucial to stay informed about these new regulations to ensure a smooth immigration journey. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. So, without any further delay, let's jump into the video. Canada's federal government is changing course on immigration with a wave of tighter caps on newcomers and new rules for permanent and non-permanent residents. The changes come after years of accelerated population growth, a trend Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has attributed to increased immigration to address labour shortages during Canada's COVID-19 recovery. How many immigrants will Canada accept in 2025? This year, Canada is projecting fewer new immigrants to the country for the first time since COVID-19 lockdowns, part of a plan Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada says will pause population growth in the short term, according to an October release. Billed as an effort to relieve pressure on housing and social services, the shift will see 1. Permanent resident targets lowered to 395,000, from 500,000. 2. PR targets for 2026 and 2027 of 380,000 and 365,000, respectively. In addition, Canada plans to cool long-term growth in the population of non-permanent residents, with policy moves aimed to 1. Shrink the proportion of NPRs in Canada to 5% population, from 6.5%. 2. Decrease the total NPR population by roughly 445,000 this year and another 445,000 next year, followed by an increase of 17,439 in 2027. Will Canada grant PR status in 2025? Federal projections show more than 40% of newcomers granted permanent status this year will be those already residing in Canada as an NPR, part of what IRCC is calling its In Canada focus. IRCC says that this year, a majority of new PRs will be economic immigrants, with roughly another 25% made up of family immigrants and the remainder set aside for refugees, protected persons, and others. Among all of those given PR status in the next year, 8.5% are expected to be French speakers who live outside of Quebec, a proportion expected to rise to 1 in 10 by 2027. Quebec, which handles some aspects of immigration separately from the federal system, has said roughly 80% of immigrants admitted to the province in the next year are expected to know French. What is changing for temporary workers? The majority of new NPRs this year will be workers, with 285,750 entering Canada under the International Mobility Program and another 82,000 under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. Eligibility for those work programs will tighten, the government says, following concerns in recent years that employers have misused the system to improperly access inexpensive labor. We've seen way too many large corporations doing this, Trudeau said in the November video address. We're making the system work for Canadians and newcomers, rather than for the big box stores, chain restaurants, immigration consultants, and sham colleges that exploit it. Here are some of the new rules. 1. Spouses of international master's students will only be eligible for work permits if the study program is 16 months or longer. 2. Spouses of foreign workers will only be eligible for their work permits if the worker is in a high-skill or high-demand sector. 3. International college and university students seeking post-graduation work permits will need to meet new language competency requirements. 4. International graduates from college programs will only be eligible for work permits if they are in fields of study linked to recognized labor shortages. The IRCC website specifies this applies to those with study permit applications submitted on or after November 1, 2024. Those last two changes alone, Immigration Minister Mark Miller says, are expected to reduce postgraduate work permit totals by 175,000 over the next 3 years. Meanwhile, Canada's TFW program has seen a reduction in scope. 1. For low-wage jobs, employers now may only staff 10% of the workforce through the program, with some exceptions. 2. New, low-wage TFW applications will only be accepted in regions where there is less than 6% unemployment, also with some exceptions. 3. Low-wage TFW jobs will now last a maximum of 1 year, down from 2 years. 4. The minimum pay for a worker in the high-wage stream has increased to the provincial or territorial median wage plus 20%. Previously, the minimum was equal to the median wage in the region of work. The government also says it plans to continue cracking down on abuse of the TFW program, citing a year-to-year increase of 36% in fines issued during the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year. Is Canada still accepting international students? Since early 2024, international student visas have been subject to intake caps, both federally and by province or territory, weighted to match population distribution. The caps were first introduced last January following what IRCC has called unsustainable growth in Canada's international student system. This year, the cap for study permit approvals is 437,000, down from 485,000 in 2024 and expected to result in roughly 305,900 arriving international students in 2025. Subject to future revisions, that number of new arrivals is expected to remain through 2027. In addition, students pursuing master's and doctoral degrees are no longer excluded from the cap and will now have to submit provincial or territorial attestation letters as part of their applications. Approximately 12% of permit approvals will be allocated for advanced degrees. Full-time international students with authorization may now work off-campus up to 24 hours per week. When class is not in session, such as summer or winter break, eligible international students may work full-time. Caps on working hours have fluctuated in recent years, from an unlimited number of hours amid the COVID-19 pandemic recovery, back to a tighter limit of 20 hours until November of last year. What about asylum claimants? Admissions targets for refugees and protected persons will fall as well, with 58,350 people expected to arrive this year, followed by 55,350 in 2026 and 54,350 in 2027. In addition, IRCC has paused refugee sponsorships from private groups, citing a volume of applications that consistently outnumbers the available spots. Until the end of 2025, Canada will not be accepting new sponsorship applications from groups of 5 private sponsors, or community organizations. As of last February, the federal government requires visitors from Mexico arriving by air to apply for a Canadian visitor visa unless they already hold a non-immigrant visa from the United States, or have held a Canadian visa in the past 10 years. IRCC says the new, tighter rules follow a large number of rejected, abandoned, or withdrawn asylum claims from the country in recent years. In short, Canada will admit fewer refugees than before over the next 3 years and has paused some forms of new refugee sponsorships. Visitors from Mexico by air will have to file for a visa unless they have held one in the past decade or have one from the United States. What about visitors on short-term visas? In November, IRCC announced that 10-year, multiple-entry visas would no longer be the standard document for visitors to Canada. Previously, visas allowing visitors to repeatedly come and go from the country throughout 10 years were issued routinely. But according to the latest updates from the federal government, the length and flexibility of those permits will now be determined by visa officers on a case-by-case basis. As well, following what IRCC calls bad actors misusing policy to deceive prospective foreign workers, visitors are no longer allowed to apply directly for work permits while already staying in the country. A pandemic-era policy allowing permit applications in those circumstances, brought forth to account for difficulties entering and leaving Canada amid lockdown measures, was set to end this February, but was cancelled early, last August. How will this impact Canada? According to IRCC estimates, Canada's population is on track for a marginal decrease of 0.2% both this year and next year, followed by a 0.8% increase in 2027. As a result of recent and forthcoming cuts to immigration, IRCC says Canada's housing supply gap is expected to shrink by 670,000 homes over the next 3 years. Michael Donnelly, an associate professor of political science at Toronto's Munk School of Global Affairs, notes that in the realm of public opinion, immigration and the supply of homes are deeply linked. And while Donnelly notes that the relationship between housing and immigration is a complicated one, he says Canadians have lost some faith in the federal Liberals' ability to keep immigration under control, breaking a long-term trend of assumed stability. Control is something that it's easy to maintain the image of, but once you lose it, it's really hard to get it back, he said. It's going to take them a while to convince people that things are fully under control, and there's probably going to be an election before they succeed in that. Navigating the complexities of immigration in 2025 can be challenging, but understanding the latest changes is key to making informed decisions. By staying up to date with the evolving rules, applicants can better prepare for their immigration processes and successfully achieve their goals. Always consult official sources and legal experts to ensure compliance with the new regulations. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.